Hello and welcome to Stella Talk Show. I'm your host, Stella Ram, realtor, entrepreneur, and someone who believes that success is not just about what we achieve, but about how we uplift others along the way. On this show, we dive into meaningful conversations that inspire, educate, and empower. As a mother of a child diagnosed with autism at 3.5 years old, I understand firsthand the journey of navigating resources, advocating for support, and finding ways to create the best possible future for my child. That's why I am particularly excited about today's episode, which is releasing in time for World Autism Awareness Month. Today, we'll be focusing on the incredibly important topic, financial planning for families impacted by autism. Financial stability can play a huge role in ensuring children getting access to the support, therapies, and resources they need. To help us unpack this vital conversation, I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Bhatt. Ham is a dedicated financial coach, a mentor, and has a rich background in accounting, project management, and financial services. As a regional vice president in the financial services industry, Ham has spent over 20 years working closely with community partners to provide valuable financial planning tools and resources for families and individuals. As a passionate advocate for autism awareness, Ham has been an active volunteer, board member at Waves of Changes for Autism, and an oversight committee member at Autism Ontario. His mission is to empower families by educating them on building financial security and achieving personal freedom. Hi, Ham. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's an honor to have you here. Just to start off, I'd love to hear what inspired you in this journey to get involved with financial planning for families with autism.
So it all actually starts from my own journey. So when my daughter was born back in 2003 and March 2004, she was only 3.5 months age and she got diagnosed with leukemia. So she was at the Sick Kids Hospital and they were treating her, and her leukemia was very aggressive form. So she had to stay there for back-to-back chemotherapy cycles, and she got 4 of them in total. And when she came out of the hospital, she was only 8 months. So you can imagine that the first thing is that, well, when you have a child who gets diagnosed at so early age, you are trying to figure out so many things at the same time.
That's true.
So when she got discharged, then after, we obviously had to follow up with the sick kids for her appointments and so on. But at the same time, we also started discovering so many challenges which kind of started happening with her health. And that was as a result of the chemotherapy, I would say. Just because she had so many toxins in her body at a very young age.
Yes.
So she had many different symptoms like severe eczema, her different abilities for things which she can and cannot do. She didn't have much physical strength either at the same time. So we were working on different aspects, and then at that point, the team of the early intervention, they got engaged with our family. Because they wanted to make sure that all kind of support she should receive, she is receiving. And at the same time, when she was going to be 4, obviously it's there to make sure that the transition to the school was smooth as well at the same time. So we kind of started learning about the services and support and all those things. But then I also came to the realization that there's so many things out there, but you can't find them under one spot, right? So there is no such place where I could go and then I can say that, you know, this is where I can go and this is what I can look for and I can get everything out of it, which didn't happen. So, but then I started raising that as a concern. I mean, not a complaint, but as a concern that this is something I think, some sort of system should be in place for the families like us. And then at the same time, the early interventionist who was actually working with my daughter, she basically said, you know, why don't you speak to the group of parents? Because it seems like you guys have so much knowledge. So they basically invited me and my wife to do so, and we started speaking. And then there was nothing behind that process. Like the thought process was that how can we help others what we know? and how can we empower others with the knowledge what we have gained.
Yes.
So then we just started kind of getting involved in the community in that sense. We were also involved with the sick kids, because every time when they had any child who comes to the hospital, now they have to stay in the hospital. Parents are so frustrated, so devastated. And then they call us, and then they always ask us to speak to the parents over the phone.
Yes.
Which we did as well. And my dad is he was a private lender, and he always taught us good concepts about the finances. My wife's dad has done PhD, and he was a director at the university as well. So we both come from the background where our upbringing was very solid in terms of the finances. And I think that's why when I came out of the school, I never come out of the school with the debt. And because I was able to save money, I understood the concepts and so forth.
Yeah.
So fast forward, when this whole situation we were going through, then I became more interested to learn about the finances, and the same thing with my wife as well. And then we both decided to kind of get our professional licenses, and then that's how it becomes more legal, just to advise anyone on any aspects. So that's where it actually whole journey began, and we both basically came in it. My wife got her licenses first, and then I got my licenses, and then since then we both were working in the community. So that actually came through the broader spectrum, because then we started working with the families for all type of families. But when it comes to this side of the world, where people have individuals, especially children, who has some sort of medical condition, form of disabilities or autism or anything, that's when we started becoming more passionate about it. Because I kind of realized that too, that what the parents are going through when they, even as little as like they have a newborn, they're working, that they are super excited, happy, right? And all of a sudden they try to find out that my child is not able to do certain things compared to his or her age.
Yes.
That's when everything starts. It's a roller coaster, right? So it's an emotional ride for most parents, and they tend to forget at that point, how to keep up with the finances.
That's absolutely right, and that's very inspiring, Hemant, that how you took that challenge that you had in your life with your newborn and turned it into something that is very beautiful now, inspiring other families, educating other families who are navigating the same journey.
Yes,
kudos to you. Amazing. And I have to say, as you know, my son was also diagnosed when he was 3.5 years old, and as you mentioned, at every stage of growth, then one day you realize, and then your family starts to hint on it, and the people start to point out stuff, and then you start doubting yourself, and then you have to take that journey of having that evaluation done, and then when you get that diagnosis, it's a hit on the face.
Yes.
Right? It's until my son was diagnosed and I was introduced to this whole world of autism, I had no idea. And I felt bad about that. So having that journey, giving that assistance to parents, as you mentioned, when they are introduced to this space in their life, that is very empowering.
Yes, thank you.
And appreciate that you're taking the time to do that. And just to break down what autism really is, right? Just to have that understanding so we can break the stigma. And why it's crucial for families to understand it from both emotional and financial prospect. What is your input there, Hemant?
So I would say that what people need to know, in me, in the process, working in the community, and also I'm a speaker at many different government agencies, and I provide my seminars and workshops and talks and all those things. I always tell parents about this, that when you hear about this diagnosis, I totally get it that you have no idea what it is, right? Because back then, if I just kind of share some numbers with you, if you go back to 2006, there was one child out of, I would say, 110 were diagnosed with autism, okay? Fast forward in 2021, we had almost 66, so one came out as an autism, right? Now as we speak, it is 1 out of 36.
Oh, wow.
So now obviously that number has grown and it has been increasing over the last many years, which is a concern globally, not just Canadian, right? But what I'm saying to you, still people don't know what it is. And I think most of the time, people don't take it seriously in a way that, well, how I should adopt this, how I should accept it. In my opinion, autism is nothing else, but it's just a neurological and developmental condition, which is a spectrum, which basically what happens with the individuals, that their ability to interact with people, ability to learn different things, right? And kind of those things, they have different challenges. Now, because I said it's a spectrum, every child is different when it comes to it. And many a times I had a conversation with parents that, well, don't compare your child who has an autism with someone else's child with autism, because you will not get anything out of it, because your child is unique. It's just like any other typical person, right? They're all different. We all have different abilities, different skills, different adaptability, level of understanding, learning, everything is different. Same rule applies with them, but then it becomes more challenging for them because they also struggle with the expression, right? So with the communication. So the way they receive information, the way they can express information is a little bit different. So I always tell parents, listen, what you need to do is in the early stage of your child, as soon as you get the diagnosis, you need to work with your children so carefully and so closely, because the first thing you need to do is you need to build the confidence in your child. Because they are struggling as is in certain areas. You don't want that to turn into depression. You don't want that to turn into something else where, you know what, oh, I don't know this and I can't open up about this. And there are different forms. Some individuals have mild autism, some have very aggressive form, some are high functioning, right? So they're all different labels it comes with. But at the end of the day, the parents are the biggest advocate of the child, because they are living with them and they can understand way more than anybody else.
That's true.
So regardless of what other people have to say, other people have to talk about your children, even at the school, when they start going into the school or start going out in the community, you have to be the biggest pillar of the confidence for them. It's an extension of it while they are still building it.
Yeah, oh, that's true. That's true. That's absolutely right, Heman, because I went through that journey myself, like, you know, getting my kid into the school, I have to be his voice. I know the main reason I got into the parents community or parents committee in the school is because I wanted to be that voice that who speaks out for these kids, not only my son, but anybody who's in the spectrum. Because right now, if you take a school, there's at least one kid in one classroom who's on the spectrum. And it's a huge thing that, you know, other kids understand why that kid is the way he or she is, accepting them for who they are, and building that friendships. They crave that, but they're not able to engage in.
That is true.
Right? So that is very inspiring. And I just want to also ask, like, you know, in the beginning for parents, it's always like the acceptance is a really hard part. But as early intervention is very important for the kid, early planning on the financial end is also very important for the parents to plan for a better future for that child. Right? So in that aspect, what are your advice or thoughts?
I would say that think about the short term, mid term, and the long term, right? Because it's very important that when it comes to finances, there are three ways you have to look at it. There are certain things which you need immediate, and you need the finances for it, you need the funding for it. There are certain things that are mid-range, so that's something you're planning for, something which is you're expecting, something you're forecasting, and something, the third part is the long term. So long term means, well, it's almost when, let's say, you are aging as parents, you are going to retire, you're going to slow down, right? Parents will pass away. What happens to the child's financial future? So it comes in the phases, and then that's how families should look at it. So when I say short term, so let me just kind of break it down. Let me dissect into these three different ways. Short term means that, well, what is your child's need now and what can you get towards it? So what kind of support can you get from the community? What kind of funding you can get from the federal, provincial, or any private organizations? So though that's something is very important to navigate. And then depending on your child's age, depending on your family's income, that's how now it kind of narrows down, right? It's the short term.
Yeah.
The midterm is the combination of both. So why I said both, which means something you have to rely on the federal, provincial aspect, but something comes to your self-reliance as well. So there are certain age where, especially when your child turns over 18, then things changes in terms of the funding. Right? So that's something you have to keep in mind, and you have to just kind of plan for it. But at the same time, start putting few things aside for your children and considering what's available in terms of the grants and bonds, which comes in the form of that from the federal government, sometimes from the provincial and whatnot. So then that's how you kind of start creating that future. And then long term is how are you planning yourself in terms of the tax and estate planning? So you need to protect your family with the insurances. You need to protect your family by saving more money.
Yeah.
There are a couple of programs available by the government where you can just kind of open that up, and then you just start saving money for your child who is on a spectrum and start receiving grants and bonds. So in the event now when you slow down, one of the parents passes away, when both parents passes away, you are going to leave significant money behind. So your child will be taken care of financially.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you might have families, extended families, you might have close families or friends. They're ready to take care of your children when you're not able to or when you're not living, right? So what I'm saying is at that point, yes, they have a desire to do so, but they need money for it.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why the planning is very important.
Yeah. So that, as a parent of a child with autism, that is one of my biggest fears too. When I talk to my husband, that is a conversation that we actually get really drained out of.
Yeah.
Like, what's next for my son, right?
Yes.
So that planning, that is very important. And I believe the early on that you plan is the better the outcome is.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's so correct.
Yeah. So, and so in this, so what would you advise a family who has been diagnosed recently or newly diagnosed? Where should they start first, Hemant?
Well, first they need to sit back and think about where they stand currently financially, right? And then the goal should be where they want to see themselves in 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So what I always talk about is it's almost like you're let's say you want to drive from here to California and you sit in your car. What do you do first? You look at GPS, you plug in the direction, and then you want to see, how long it will take for you to get there.
Yeah.
Are there any detours, like if any construction or anything is happening? And because you want to get there on time, you don't want to get lost, right? So kind of that thing. So when it comes to finance, it's the same thing, that, yes, wherever you are today, you can't change that right in the moment. But if you have a plan to follow, then definitely that whole plan can get you where you want to get there.
That's true, yeah.
So that's the first thing they need to do. And then what we call in our industry is the financial needs analysis. So financial needs analysis is about like almost 15 pages document. And this document talks about the entire your financial household, all areas of financial household, whether you're looking from the protection side, which comes in the form of different types of insurances, or we are looking to get rid of your debt, which is debt management, investing money for your retirement, for your children's education, for your children's future, or establishing yourself a wills, power of attorney, all those things. So it captures every single piece of information in that plan, and then it tells you like where is the gap. So you know that, okay, if you want to, let's say, have X amount of dollars at age 50, at age 55, 60, but you will not have it if you continue doing what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you the shortfall. Basically, every single pages, it shows you the shortfall. And the most important thing it gives you is the FIN number. which we call financial independence number. Because if anyone wants to retire, generally speaking, when I meet with my clients and I ask them, okay, what age you want to retire? And they always tell me, like, out of nowhere, 65. I'm like, why 65? Oh, because then that's what everyone talks about. I'm like, well, that's not the case. You can retire at any point you want. But why you can't retire sooner? Because you don't have money to leave off.
The financial planning is
exactly right. Just imagine that you have enough money to leave off every single year. You will retire now, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how it comes down to. So I always talk about that part. So that's the first step, that evaluate your own situation, your own finances, and then there should be a plan. And then once you have that plan, now right away we just start dissecting into what is going to help you to get there.
Yeah, most definitely. That's really wonderful that you shared that with me. So when we talk about early intervention for kids who've been diagnosed very early on, or whenever that they do go through that phase, it's very crucial.
Yes.
Because the earlier that you intervene, the better the results are. Like, hopefully they can find out what they need more, so they can focus on that areas. But these therapies, very expensive.
Yes.
Like, I have personally myself gone through ABA therapy, speech therapy, etc. And it is for average family, it's a huge financial burden.
Yes.
Right. So it's great that we have the financial planning for the as you said midstream and the long term. But in the beginning, it's a struggle for families. So as a realtor myself, and as also an autism mom, I have seen families go through a very hard turn on financials to make sure their kids get the best in their growth. I have seen people sell their home, take their money and go rent and spend it on therapy. I have seen people use their equity, they pull out the equity to spend on therapy, and they plan it because they don't want to do it short term, they want to do it long term, because that's where the results come in. So when you look at the big picture, do you think there should be more concentration given to support these families in the big in the government and or in the public and how we can be a part of support there?
So, I mean, the way I look at it is, first of all, besides this financial aspect, every family, they should know about the different process of, like how they can just get through what's available out there. So it all comes down to how well versed you will be in navigating those services.
Yes.
Right? It's very important. And again, like I said in the beginning, that the real challenge is that you can't find everything at one spot, right?
Yes.
So you have to really kind of go through like so many different things, so many different agencies, so many different maybe websites and all those.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming. And then still people don't understand most of the time, okay, where to start or what can I do? And then even if they start, like there are many, many different services available. And I'll tell you, if you really understand it, then you have funding available for your child, because your child totally deserves it, right? Because it's for those services, for those situations. But until you don't step up and you don't look for it, government is not coming to you that, okay, hey, this is what your son has, your daughter has. Let me just kind of send a representative from the government and sit down with you and then make you understand everything. So I think that's why it is very important that we bring more awareness in the community by providing different ways of communication, different ways of activities, so people know more about it. I mean, what I do is when I meet with the families, the first thing I just kind of look through their overall situation. families I have seen that they both make good money. Some families I have seen that, well, maybe one of the parent has quit their job just because they can focus on the child. Like you mentioned, I have sat down with families who owned a home, they sold their house and now they have been renting so that they can afford to pay for those therapies. And then in many times I have seen that, well, they have children, more than one child who has autism or some sort of other disability.
Yes.
So not only they're struggling with one, but they're struggling with multiple children, right? So it all comes down to that. So once I do that, then I just help them navigate everything, because then I just narrow down everything based on their age factor, their income factor, their situation, finances, the size of the family. And then that's how now they can get through everything, what they really are entitled to. And that's how they become strong financially. So I would say in terms of the support side, there is still a lot of awareness required. Okay, there are still a lot of initiatives required by the government, by the community, and so forth. And that's why I think I became passionate about it more than I got involved in this non-profit charity, and because I understood, it is totally like worth doing it. And I just love doing. I become more and more passionate about it day after day. And then all we do is we just go out in the community, and then we just do different activities. We raise funds, and we give it back to those families. Right?
That's beautiful.
There is no financial interest for any of us. It's just non-profit, so we just do it. And then based on my involvement in the community, then I got involved now with Autism Ontario as well. And then that's how I just provide my expertise to them as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Hem. That's very inspiring, and also it's beautiful that what you're doing with this charity that you're involved with. I want to also talk about the research. Like, do you have any insight or like experience working with this research in autism awareness and diagnosis?
So I do, and there are many researches are done so far. If you go back 20 years ago, there wasn't that awareness in the community, or 30 years ago. There wasn't even much support. Like I said, even today we struggle to kind of bring that awareness. Now I would say though, like there are a lot of, compared to last 5-10 years, there are a lot of families, they're aware of it. Even though they do not have someone in the family. Now, because the numbers are increasing and rising by leaps and bounds, what's happening as well, that if someone who does not have a child in the family with autism, but they have someone in their family, like extended family. So maybe their brother or sister or their cousins, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe someone at the work or someone in the community. So there are families out there who knows at least one family, I can say with confidence, that who has a child with autism. So that is a good part. But at the same time, what they don't understand is what it takes to raise a child who has an autism.
Yes.
And from both aspects, like physically, how involved, like you have to get involved with the child's development, financially, emotionally. So that part is missing still. And I remember that if there are children, let's say if I think of like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they go out in the community, like quite a few times I noticed that people kind of look at those children, they keep noticing those children. Not that they just want to do it, but they couldn't understand like
what's going
why
on.
This child is behaving like this, right? Or why this child is interacting like this, and so on. But now it has become so normal. Nowadays I see that, you know what, people look at it and they don't bother about it. Like they know that something is there. They know that that's the awareness and so on. So the research has done a great job in bringing that awareness, I would say, because there are a lot of things in the news as well, like in the local news, in the national news, and then nowadays like people are so savvy with internet as well, so they find the information. But there are a lot of researches happening even at the university levels too, that not just the government is doing it, a lot of universities are doing the research from the psychological standpoint, from the behavior standpoint, and so on. And they are coming up with studies and so on. But I think there's a lot of work needs to be done still. And the only reason why, because those numbers are increasing a lot, but at the same time, it's a very big spectrum. So to understand that spectrum, it takes a lot.
So it takes a lot of time. Most definitely. I just want to put my thoughts into this as well, because I have a child with autism, and when you talk about that support and awareness, it is great that, as you mentioned, now the community is more aware about hey, okay, maybe that's what's going on with that child. But when you look at closed doors inside the house, in a family that's raising a child with autism, it affects every single individual in the family. Including the siblings. Siblings,
that's what I was going to say.
So I have a daughter who's 9 years old, and she always wanted a sibling. And then she went through a phase that she's trying to understand why my son was different. Mommy, why is he not playing with me? Why is he not responding to me? Like, why wouldn't he turn when I call his name? So these things I had to actually sit down and explain to my daughter. It is a challenging, I think it's physically, mentally, and also emotionally. Not only for a mother, father, but also to a sister, brother who's part of that family. So when we talk about support, I think we should also consider the support the family needs. Because it's a journey not only that individual who's diagnosed is going through him, it's the whole family going through. It's a huge learning curve. And because she's a kid too, the fact of understanding and remembering why my brother is different is a huge leap. And when I'm dropping them at school, I had to tell my daughter, Anaika, just make sure that you keep an eye on your brother. She's like, why? He's fine. I'm like, I know he's fine, but just keep an eye on him. If you see him, just go say hello to him, right? So it's just it's a huge learning curve, like a lot of emotions involved, a lot of conversations needs to happen. So I believe that support has to come from a high end. Definitely from the community, from the support groups, from the government, on educational aspects. And when we talk about support and early intervention, I believe not only the kid need early intervention, even the family as well, emotionally, physically need that early intervention in understanding the journey that is ahead of them.
That is true.
So it's a huge learning curve for everybody. And I think the pillar behind that is the finances. Because I have had the opportunity to work with a family who actually had decided to go separate ways because they were not able to handle the struggles that comes with it. And it's very sad to see that. And for families that this is a situation that families need to stand together strong. And it is hard, and I don't blame anybody. So I believe with proper support from the areas that they can receive, they can strengthen those families' foundation a little bit more.
That is true.
To go forward, So financials is one of the biggest things, because end of the day, you try to thrive through your emotions, your stigma, your understanding. But once the financial pillar is not strong enough, then it affects it furthermore. Right. So when it comes to early planning and early, understanding where to turn to, Hemant, can you please touch on a few things as to, hey, once you get the diagnosis, these are the first steps that you need to do?
Okay. So, again, going back to your point before I get to what you just asked me is, what I have also come to know that I have many clients who actually are my clients, and then they got separated just because of this, right? Now, in the end, it's not the child who is with autism suffers, but also the siblings also, right? And also I always tell them that, all you need to understand, just by separating your ways, it's not going to just do any better than what it is, right? So I think that's what people need to know. And financial stress you talked about, that is the number one stress for everything, even for the people's health, right? people have more health issues, and if you really kind of link that to how it started and what it is and whatnot, the number one reason, it's based on the stats, right? These are not my facts.
Yeah.
So it's based on the stats. It's the number one reason that people have all these different health challenges too. So that's why the financial component is very important. So early intervention, like I said, first of all, you are, and this is my advice to all the parents, that you have to be the biggest advocate for your child from very beginning. Because if you don't support, and if you're emotionally drained, and if you can't think straight and whatnot, it is not going to go anywhere, and your child is going to suffer in the end. So that's my take on it, that I tell every parents all the time, that that's the first thing. Like, put yourself together, like sort yourself, like go sort it, right? That's what it is. That's number one. Number two is now find out what are the resources available. So, and it's not just the financial resources. The resources in the community in terms of support. You just talked about the sibling, right? There are many different groups. They run sibling groups. So what they do is they run this as an education. So all these siblings, they come in a group, and then there is an educator. And then what they do is they basically make them understand what is autism. How should you see your brother or sister? And how you can support your brother and sister, and not only that, how you can support your parents, right? Because like you said, that's the age. They don't get it. They don't understand. Like, why he's not doing this, why he's not looking at me, right? Or something like that. So, and I understand that. So that's what it comes down to. And that's why people need to find out the resources, what's available, go out in the community. Many a times parents don't.
Yes.
Right? So go out in the community, see that what other people are doing, because you always learn from others. Okay? Regardless of what level you are at in your life, whether on a personal level, professional level, or spiritual level, you can always find somebody. You can always learn from something from somebody, right? So I always tell people, like, put yourself out the community and see what's out there. And then also find an expert to work with.
Sure.
So someone who has the best interest in you, find an expert. And then also all these processes, I would also say that they're not easy to go through in terms of applying for funding and provincial and federal. And there's many of them, they have wait period for 2 years, 3 years, and so you become more frustrated. Quite a few times they get rejected, or the application gets declined. Now they don't know what to do with it, right? So there is an appeal process, but then you have to just kind of go after it. So that's what it comes down to in the early intervention. Also start looking for the schools. Even though your child is not at that age yet, start looking in the schools in the neighborhood and see which school has what model. And then based on that model, you can decide, okay, this is what my son is or my daughter is. And based on his or her personality, what's the best fit? Not because someone says to you, okay, you know what, this school is great, which is ABC, but that ABC is not for you, not for your child. Right? You might have to go to XYZ. So that's what it is. That's what it's come down to. So these are the different steps which I would say they should take very beginning. And more importantly, like I said, that just be a close friend with your child, understand your child, see what the strengths are, what the challenges are, and then keep working on it. Try your best to engage your child based on the strengths aspect, like what he or she is good at. Maybe he or she likes painting or music, or any other like physical activity. Start getting them involved, because this is the way you can just instill so much confidence in them. So regardless of what challenges they have, maybe let's say they don't have enough expressive language, but because of this confidence, they know that what they stand for and what they can do and cannot do.
Exactly. Right? Treating them the same way as you treat another person,
exactly.
Right? Without seeing that difference. it's when you're telling me, like, I'm picturing my, I'm thinking about my son, and I have to tell you, he surprises me every day.
Yes.
Right. He's 6 years old. He played the piano when he was 3. And out of the blue, like, I don't know how he knows the keys.
Yes.
Right. These kids are, I know they have some challenges, but these kids are very, very gifted.
Yes.
They have their own, gifts that I really can't express that in words. Every day you see them, like, taking that milestones, surprising you in many ways. My son reads and writes the Russian alphabet. I believe he learned it off YouTube, but I have nothing to do with it. One day the school called me and it's like, do you have a Russian bag? I'm like, no. This is funny, but for him, because he's so fascinated with the fonts and the drawings of the alphabets and things like that, he's so into learning other languages. And it's amazing. Like, the journey is amazing. So when he was first diagnosed, he was 3.5 years old. He was diagnosed as nonverbal high functioning. He's no longer considered nonverbal because he does speak, but in his own way when he really wants to talk. Right? So they go through that evolution. And I believe it's also because us as parents, we continue to speak to him.
Yes.
Just because he was diagnosed as nonverbal, we didn't leave it there. We still read books with him. He reads really well. But it's just that communication aspect. I think he's starting to develop. I think every kid will at one stage or not. So they do evolve as well through the spectrum. So the much support that you can give them and treat them as normal as much as you can. I know it's not going to be easy. You have your days, right? I have my days in my home too. But just having that empowerment, right? And that strength to pull through, to see the rainbow on the other side is very, very inspiring.
And Stella, see, I always respected you, and you're gaining more respect of me just the way you are saying everything, your thought process behind it. It's very commendable that the way you are treating him and the way actually you are just trying to bring the best out of him. I think it's very, very commendable.
Yeah. That's what we do as parents, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And on the other side of the fence, like, there are many parents, they give up. They just think that, well, because they just get so overwhelmed by the diagnosis, the label, the doctors and specialists and therapists and so on, and that basically makes them believe that now my child is not able to do anything. But that's not the case.
That's
like you
not
said,
the case, no.
You don't know what your child's strength is until you discover it.
Exactly.
And to discover it, you have to spend time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what it comes down. Because, see, I don't know if you've heard, but there are many individuals out there who are blind. They can't see. But they have another sense which is so strong, because they always say that, well, when something is suppressed, someone else is going to rise.
Yes.
Right? And this exact concept applies when it comes to autism. Maybe they are not good at maybe doing 2, 3, 4 things. And I would always say, well, even as a typical person, not everyone is good at everything.
Yeah.
Right? The only challenge is because your child is not behaving the
way that you expect it to be.
Or they are not really learning the way other children are learning. But then that's okay.
Yeah.
But they can be something else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just accepting who they are and empowering them throughout the journey.
Yeah.
And seeing them evolve. That's very inspiring. It actually pays off. It actually gives me that satisfaction. Oh my God, okay. The time I spent with him in, getting him to like converse with me, and now seeing him trying to do that, it's mind-boggling.
Yes.
No. And I know that not only me or you, like a lot of parents out there is going through this journey. I want this conversation to be very empowering to them, to continue to do what they're doing and believing in their journey and their child, because there's a lot of potential that is hidden in that little kid that you can definitely bring out.
100%.
Yes. And I wanted to ask your advice, Hemant, because when as we talk about therapy and things like that, budgeting is very important to keep the therapy going for a long time, because some of the challenges we see is people try to do therapy, but they're not able to budget it long term. So what is your advice there for families who are trying to budget it properly to keep the support or the therapies going for long term for their kids?
So I always say this, that when it comes to that aspect, the budgeting skills, both parents should be on the board, not just one or the other, right? And that's another experience I've gone through in working with different families.
Yes.
That, I come across as, you know what, yeah, my wife is good at that. She takes care of everything. But I'm like, okay, in the end, you need to know that as well.
Yes.
Because if you don't understand it, if you're not involved in the process, how can you contribute? Right?
Yeah.
You can't just go to work and bring money. You also need to understand it, like where the money is going. So budgeting is something that the both parents should be on it. And budgeting is, like you said, it's important, but what I always say, budgeting is necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, and it requires discipline. So there should be some form of format you need to follow. Maybe you have Excel spreadsheet, maybe you have a document, maybe you just are not technology person, so you have everything kind of written down, and you should have like a planner, right? So anything works for the families. I think that's what they should stick to. But when it comes to budgeting, now they need to come down to that, what is coming in and what is going out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And at that point, like in the beginning, they might not have the funding available because it's just started, right? So you're managing with what you have. But as you start, the funding starts kicking, then you just now need to manage it effectively in a way that you're not putting yourself into a whole lot of debt.
That's true.
Because that comes with the stress. And that actually drives into your emotions. And then because of the emotions, now you can't actually execute what you have to on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's why the budgeting is something that they really need to understand it, understand the difference in between want and need. So you want probably zillions of things, but not necessarily need it. So then differentiate, there is a fine line, and people need to understand that aspect as well. And then also, like I said, that think about the short term, mid-term, long term, and that will really make you understand not just now, even for your future.
For the future.
And it is all about, like it's just kind of making yourself familiarized with it. Like anything new which you want to implement in our life, you're always uncomfortable, right? It's the human being nature, right? So whether you want to ride a bike, let's say the first time as a child when you wanted to ride a bike, like you are a little bit scared, whatever it is, right? It's no matter what else you have done, the first time ever in your life, you're a little bit, I shouldn't say skeptical. It's not about that. It's just the comfort level because you've never done it. So that's why you don't want to do it. We were just giving a second thought, kind of those things, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what people need to do, that once they are on track with the budgeting, it becomes the second nature.
Yes.
And it just goes on autopilot. And that's how you think, that's how you do things. And now you're completely fine with everything. You don't have to compromise anything just because now you've learned that how to make it happen. And at the same time, you don't lose anything out of it.
Yes, yes, right? Yeah. That's amazing.
So that's the budgeting part. And then, like I said, that people need to, first, they need to put their financial house together, right? And I always say this, that let's say if you're a builder, because you're in real estate, so you can relate to this. You're a builder and you're building homes, okay? And I'm as a client, I just walk in and I say to you, Stella, can I buy a house? You can say, absolutely. Yeah, we can buy whatever, we have different plans, whatever it is. And then I would say, okay, so I really love my kitchen because I love to cook. I love my family room because I like watching TV with my family. I love watching sports, whatever, right? Can you build that first? That is my question to you, right? What would you say to me? You can build that first. There has to be a foundation. Right? So without the solid and crack-free foundation, nothing else matters what you like.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That has to be solid, and then you can just put whatever else you want to put up. And then that's going to sustain for a number of years.
Yes.
Right? So that's what it comes down to when it comes to financial house, is the foundation for the financial house is the protection. You need to protect the income while you're alive and while you're gone. Okay, so that comes in the form of the insurances. Then also, people need to understand that, okay, we need to prepare wills and power of attorney. Can I tell you how many families they don't have it?
Oh yeah, many.
So many of them,
Many.
they do not have wills and power of attorney.
But they know they need it.
They need it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they never got around it, or maybe they never thought that it's important, or get it done now mentality, right? But when it comes to the children with any form of disability, including autism, they must have wills and power of attorney. Okay, because we just kind of design that in a way that we create with the hands and trust, right? It is very important that you have that already built into your will and power of attorney, because that is built for the child who has that disability, and it's very important,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then it comes down to the debt management. So debt management, there are different skills they can learn, and how they can pay off that debt quicker, sooner, without piling up more debt, right? So there are strategies which they can implement, and then also they need to learn how to save money for retirement, because like I said, at some point, they are going to retire.
Yes.
They have to stop working. Because physically and medically you're not supported at that point. So even though you want to as much as, you can't, right?
Yes.
So that's what it comes down to. And then if you have siblings, I mean, that child has siblings, then obviously you want to think about that those children as well, right?
Yes.
That for their education, for their other future aspects and so forth. So that's what it comes down to. That's the first step I think people need to know
Yes.
when it comes to their finances
Financial
as a
plan.
foundation.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
No, that's very important topics that you touched there, and it's very crucial that everybody start thinking about that and act according to it as soon as they can.
And sorry, one thing I want to add in it, like that all comes with the financial literacy,
Exactly.
because people are doing things, but they don't know what they are doing, why they are doing it, what's the purpose of it. They are doing it maybe because they heard it from somebody. Maybe their brother did it, maybe their cousin did it, their friend did it. But every family is different.
Yes.
Their situation is different, their goals and dreams are different, and financial literacy is lacking. The reason why, because when we went to school, we got math, history, science for a number of years, right? How many times today we are using history on a daily basis? Not much. But when it comes to money, we deal with money every single day.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes.
But imagine that if we learn about finances, about those rules, principles, concepts, strategies in school
Yeah.
for, let's say, 4, 5, 6 years in a row,
Oh my God.
how well equipped you are. Like when you go to university, college, you understand the concept. When you
Yes.
come out, you don't have debt.
Yes.
Currently, based on the stats, 85% of students, they come out of a university with a debt.
Yeah.
85% of them.
Yeah, and they take many years to pay it back. Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah, financial literacy
Because
is
of
definitely important.
that's what it is. So
Yeah.
that's what I always say people. When you have situation like this, or just a typical family, understand what the finances are.
Yes.
Get that education. It's a financial literacy. That's what I say. Because once you have that, then you can make the informed decision about it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Hemant. Most definitely. I want to also talk about the tools, grants, or investment strategies that can help families better prepare for children to be more independent, especially on the spectrum.
So it comes in 3 forms, I would say. I mean, you can divide that into 3 forms: the provincial, the federal, and the private. Okay. So there are many programs at those 3 levels you can find, where those programs basically just kind of gives you an idea that, okay, what's for your children, right? In terms of the funding, the resources, the tools, and everything, and the services. So when it comes to that, like I said, let me just talk about one powerful tool, which is by the federal government, which was introduced back in 2008. It is called RDSP, Registered Disability Savings Plan.
Yes.
So And again, that's with the same concern because these numbers are rising. And this is not just for people who have children with autism. It's actually available for any form of disability.
Yes.
But that's the concern because at the end of the day, that if, let's say, these numbers are rising, in the event when parents are passing away, they don't have anything left behind or not enough, whose responsibility is that? That's the government, right? So that's why they came up with this back in 2008. This program, basically, it's what it is that you contribute. So they're making parents a little bit more disciplined, which I like, that you contribute a little bit, and then government gives you grants and potentially bonds depending on the income of the family. So to give you an idea that if your family falls under high income over like almost 100,000, then you put $1,000 in and government gives you $1,000 grant in that account. So it's almost 100% match.
Yes.
The best investment, right?
Yes.
Do you know any investment which is giving you 100%
No.
guaranteed return?
Yeah.
No. This is how I see it as because I come from the industry.
Yeah.
And if the income is less than that, so there is a grace period in terms of when it comes to those numbers. So if you fall under in between those numbers, then you put 1,500 in, and government gives you 3,500 towards that.
Wow.
So now the grant portion is bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And if the income comes under the lower income families, then not only you get those grants, you also get $1,000 in bonds. So now you put 1,500, government gives you 4,500 in that account.
Wow.
Right? So I have seen that as a most powerful tool because many clients, they have actually understood it, they established it, and now fast forward, they have almost like $200,000 sitting in their child's account, which started from little amount because most money comes from the form of the grants and bonds, and also it's an investment because government says, well, you have to invest it, you have to have an investment account. So that's an investment account. So now that money grows.
Yes.
Right? Now this has been built for child's long-term future. So, and again with the same concept that, well, while you're around, while you're capable, you're actually providing everything for your child. But in the event when you slow down, you're retired, or you're not around, then that becomes your son's financial future, your daughter's financial future.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's a very powerful program. Now, the reality is that TFSA, which you know of, Tax-Free Savings Account, was launched in 2009. And most family, they're aware of TFSA, but they're not aware of RDSP, which was launched year prior.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know, even myself, I didn't know the depth of details of it. Yeah, so it's a good thing that you took the time to break it down. Oh my God, that's a huge thing. Everybody out there.
It's a game changer. That's how I see it as. That particular program is a game changer for the family. For the families,
exactly. Yes. And what are the other tools? Is there any other tools, Hemant, that compared to that, or something?
So there are, so in terms of investment portion, yes, this is RDSP. Then there are other tools like you can build a trust, establish a trust, not a build a trust, but you can have a trust account where you can just put money into that trust account for your son or daughter, and then you can just let it build that aspect. But then in terms of the benefits, there are a lot of benefits available provided by the government. So there is also another program, it's available by the ministry, which is available for those children as well. It falls under the acronym SSAH, Special Services at Home.
Okay.
And if your son or daughter, so your child basically qualifies for it, then it also comes with another program which is attached with it, which provides like a monthly amount, which is not a huge amount, but then your child also gets covered fully for medicals and the dental services.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But the Special Service at Home, it is also a program where it's a process you have to go through. There's an application process and you have to wait for it, and then you have to be an advocate, like what's the maximum amount you can get for your child. There is no fixed number for that. Okay, it all depends on your child's scenario and how well you will present your child in terms of that application. So that's how they will define that what he is entitled to or what she is entitled to, and you can get lump sum amount per year.
Yes.
So the way that works, that you can use that amount for therapies, because that was the concern you brought up, that people don't have enough money. They can use for therapies, they can use for respite services, they can use for some other services like the home cleaning, if you bring the cleaner in your house and so on. So there are many different aspects you can cover under that. You can even buy a technology for your child.
Yes.
You can buy a laptop, you can buy an iPad, right? So all they care about is as long as you fall within those guidelines where there is a huge list given to you that this is where you can spend money, it's all yours.
Absolutely, Hema. So as you mentioned, every dollar count, right? Because families need the maximum that support that they can get, so they can plan it very well for the family and also for the kids who need that support.
That is true.
Most definitely. And your thoughts on how the border community, like business owners, schools, and local residents, actively support families with autism in a meaningful way?
So there are various ways they can actually do it. They can have their physical involvement in the activities, in the groups, in the programs, like the way I am actually contributing into this non-profit charity, right? So just become the ambassador of something, right? Some sort of activity which can bring more awareness and which can bring, more. It's more inclusiveness, I would always say, that people need to feel about it, like families especially, because many families, they also think that because my child has an autism, like they are not accepting my family because the way they actually think about my family, think about my child, whatever it is. But I think that's why even though you don't have anyone in the family, you should be physically involved in the family. Number two is for business owners, I would say that what they should consider doing is they should actually start raising funds or start giving back to the community. There are just like our charity, non-profit charity, there are other charities out there. And they don't have to just stick to one charity. There's no belief system, right? It's all about, you're just doing this for a good cause. That's what it is. So just give something back to the community, or maybe just do activities at your work, I would say.
Building awareness.
Exactly. Do like little things like pizza slice sales and whatever it is, right? Something, whatever little activities you do, raise some funds, give it back, because every dollar count for these families.
Exactly.
Right? And also they can give lump sum donations as well to the charities. That, okay, you know what, we don't want to do any activities in our business or at our premises or facility, but we would like to contribute into other charities. So we can give lump sum. These charities, like I said, our charity, we have 3 different major events which happens every year, besides small events to raise funds. And there are many business owners, they come out without any other interest, just give us the fund. They sponsor. They sponsor for little things. And then that's what I think the business owners can do as well. Because it goes a long way, right? Exactly.
So, apart from all these big pillars giving the support that these families deserve, the communities that, as Waves of Change for Autism, they're doing an amazing job giving back as much as they can with all these sponsorships that they're receiving. And, as much as individuals in the community, if we can be a part of that, I think that will be really inspiring, and also uplift and empower these families to be there and, empower their kids to grow into the best version of themselves.
That's right.
Most definitely. And before I end the conversation, Hemant, if you could share one powerful message with the border community that we live in, and also with the government about the families impacted with autism, what would that be?
I would say that it always goes back to the available resources for the family, available services to the family. I think the system should be more easier. it should be more, the process it's like a normal process, rather than families take it as, I don't have enough support, or I went through this and I didn't get what I want, or nobody knows what I'm doing, or they can just understand me, kind of those things. So I think they should have a system in place where everyone feel that there is an inclusiveness in the process. There is accessibility in the process, right? So accessibility, it comes down to how accessible everything is.
Yes.
Like I said, there are services available out there. Parents apply for it and they have to just wait. It's like a waiting game. Like they have been waiting for 2 years, 3 years, and so on. Especially there is a program by the government. It's called OAP, right? So Ontario Autism Program, where they actually give funds to the families. And the way that program has been designed, that when your child is until 6 years of age, you get a very high amount of funds. But the reality is that most families, they pass the 6 years age because they have been waiting in the waiting game. And now they qualify, but the child is over 6 years age.
Yeah, and
right?
they don't get what they were supposed to get.
Right. So that system, I always say that, there has to be something in place. And it's not only that what's available in terms of the services, but also the service providers. I think there is also a shortage in terms of, and that's why there is a waiting period, right? Because there are so many things which comes in, it's flooded in the system, but there is not enough support behind the scene to kind of fulfill those requirements.
Yes.
So that's my message, that how it can be done or how it can be improved. And accessibility, I think, huge. It's people don't know how to access services.
Yes.
Because there are many, many different agencies out there. Every agency's goal is different. Their service is different. And therefore, they are just focused on that, and they don't know anything else about any other. They don't talk to each other. Let me just put it this way.
Yeah.
So they don't know what the other agency is doing, right? So I think there should be a hub. And that hub should be something like any parents, they want any sort of information, they just go to the hub, and anything they need
should be in there.
Then they can just kind of get redirected to, this is where you should go, and this is where you can get what you're entitled to.
That's amazing. If there is a hub like that, I would have saved, I would say, months of research finding where I should turn to when my son was first diagnosed. So I think that would be a very good resource to have, because, as we discussed, like, families don't know where to turn to. They get the diagnosis and go home, and what next? Right? So having that guidance, that one place that they can go and access all these resources and knowledge as to how they should plan and what is available to them, that is going to be very empowering. And to know, because end of the day, we are actually building a future together here, because as you mentioned, like, as statistics, there's a lot of diagnosis. You mentioned 1 in 37 families are diagnosed at autism, and that is the future generation that we are looking at. And we are parents to that future generation. So as much as we can empower, organize, and support them as a community, as parents, as families, that's going to be the result that we're going to see in the future.
That is true. And that's why I do a lot of seminars to these government agencies, for the staff, for the parents, just to bring more awareness, right? And not just awareness about what is autism. I think now people need more help with what's after.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what they need the help with. So I expand on many a times in different seminars, like different tools and resources, how to navigate the system, different programs like RDSPs and ODSPs and special services at home. And there are many other bunch of programs. And I think that gives me the fulfillment of, this is something for the great cause, for sure. And it's always about, when you're blessed, why can't you bless somebody else? right?
That's inspiring, Hemant. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. The information that you shared with us has been really valuable, and I believe the listeners, you gain something out of this. And if you're not a family with a child with autism, if you know someone who is, please go ahead and share this episode with them. It'll be very valuable for them to know as to where they can turn and how they can build a very good foundation for their kids. Hemant, once again, thank you very much for taking your time. And if you would like to could contact him on directly and speak with him about the support that he has been providing to families with kids with special needs or autism, I'm going to leave his link below in our details. So please go ahead and check it out and stay tuned for our next episode.
And thank you to all our viewers for listening to us. And thank you, Stella, again for inviting me.
You're most welcome, Hema. It was an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hem, for sharing your valuable insights. It's clear that with the right knowledge and planning, families can build a stable and secure financial future for their children. To our listeners, if you have questions or would like to connect with Hem directly, please visit the link below on our bio and connect with Hem. Thank you for joining us for this heartfelt and informative conversation. Please subscribe and share with anyone who can benefit from this valuable information. Remember, awareness leads to action, and together we can create a stronger, more supportive community for all families. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations here on the Stella Talk Show. Until next time.
Thank you for spending your time with us on the Stella Talk Show. We hope you found value in today's episode and gained insights to help elevate your lifestyle. If you enjoyed the discussion, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who could benefit. It means the world to us. Until our next episode, stay inspired, and I'll see you soon on our next Stella Talk Show.